Hi there, this is Mushtaba Ahmad and you are watching my O-Levels Biology lecture series. The syllabus code for this syllabus is 5090 and we are going to continue with our previous topic, and in this lecture we are going to take a close look at the building blocks of life. And if you remember that I tried to illustrate you the idea of building blocks by giving the example of these colorful blocks, and these colorful blocks form the foundation of a really complex structure or a really huge structure. And similarly, cells form the basic unit of life, basic unit of a really complex multicellular living organism such as a human, such as ourselves. And then we are going to really continue with our previous lecture, and we have so this is lecture number 3, and we have up till now studied about the basic structure of a cell, basic structure of an animal cell, and basic structure of a plant cell that we looked at. We also took a close look at the specimens that were stained with a methylene blue dye and how you would expect them and how would you write observations about those and what to expect from when you visualize those cells under a light microscope without a stain as well as with stain. And we also took a look at the electron micrographs. Now we would be taking a look at the functions of the animal cells and the plant cell. We'd also discuss about the various structures that are only found in a plant cell, and we would also discuss the structure of a bacteria, which is really the apparently dangerous creature, and I say apparently because of a reason, and that would become really clear to you as we take a close look at a bacterial cell and discuss about bacteria. So guys, really in this video I would restrict myself to this third point because it would take really quite some time to discuss, and we would be discussing the structures or the organelles found within a cell which are common to both the animal cell as well as a plant cell. Now we would move on to the slide which discusses the learning outcomes. As usual, we would be we have to keep in mind certain learning outcomes or the bullet points that are required from us by the examiner, and these are taken from the syllabus 2023 version of the syllabus. And you are required to describe the structure of a bacterial cell, which I told you has been probably recently added to this version of O-Levels biology syllabus, and we would be taking a look at ribosomes, DNA, plasmids, cytoplasm, cell membrane and cell wall, which is found in a bacterial cell. That would be probably discussed in a next video or in a separate video. And now we would be taking a close look at the structures of ribosomes, mitochondria, nucleus, cytoplasm and cell membranes in an animal cell. And really these organelles which are mentioned in green are really common to both an animal cell as well as a plant cell. So we would be restricting ourselves in this video to discussing the functions, and we would be also looking at the structures of these organelles or structures that are found within both, remember, a plant cell as well as an animal cell. So I would like you guys to visualize this factory as a cell, and really there are many common things that are found within a factory and a plant and a cell and a general cell. So really I want you guys to think over what does a factory have what does factories rather have in common. It has really a security gate, it has a power plant to provide it with essential energy, a control center to look after the matters or affairs of a factory and ensure the smooth functioning, that the absolutely essential instructions that are required for an absolutely smooth functioning of a factory. And then there are obviously machineries, units of machinery that are required for the preparation of an end product. There are also there is also a requirement of solar panels in certain cases, that will also take a look at. So really the purpose of this slide is to give you guys a heads up, because by the end of this topic we would be revisiting this slide, and really what I want you guys to do is, as I take you through this topic, you must or you must at least try to draw similarities between various parts or various systems that are found within a factory, and how they could be related to various organelles or various structures that are contained within cell, because a cell is really a complex structure in itself, and it also comprises of various organelles or subcellular structures in itself, that makes its functioning smooth and makes us a really normal organism, really more normal human being, and it really controls the functioning at a really molecular level, at a really microscopic level, so to say, that we cannot even visualize, but it's really miraculous thing to see that how these cells communicate, various sorts of cells communicates, and various subcellular structures in fact communicate together to bring about changes in an organism or maintain equilibrium within an organism, which is absolutely important and essential for living, for maintaining mental order and maintaining balance in life. So we see the first structure that we are going to be discussing is a cell membrane, and cell membrane is really a bilayer. So it's really a phospholipid bilayer, as I told you. Bi means two, and phospholipid is a molecule that has definitely a chemical formula that you really do not need to know. There are circular, so really let me take out my pen. So really these are phospholipid molecules, and they are composed of this head and the two tails. Okay, so phospholipid heads are protruding towards the outside of a cell, rather to the side of the cell which has liquid or watery surface, because you know that the cell is surrounded from outside or inside in a really fluid environment, and these tails, which are the two tails, these really hate watery environment or aqueous environment, and they do not involve the water molecules or any liquid sort of any liquid, and then you must also be able to note that cell membrane has various proteins. This is a protein channel, this is a protein molecule, these are also protein molecules, and these all have their own particular specific functions, and it also has certain structures which such as a cholesterol. So cholesterol has its own functions. For instance, it adds to the stability of a cell membrane. So really you guys do not need to remember the functions of these structures which are a part of cell membrane, but you must have it at the back of your head that these structures, these small tiny structures, these molecules serve and are there in fact for a purpose, for a reason. So really this is a bilayer which controls the movement of molecules from inside or from outside into or outside of the cell. So it really is a compartmentalization of a cell. It separates the inside of a cell from the outside of a cell, in fact, and it only allows the movement or passage of certain molecules that are only required by the cell, by a particular sort of cell, and it would do this by the virtue of these protein channels. So these are protein channels that you see are traversing throughout the cell membrane. These allow the movement of certain molecules. So for instance, sodium ions, if they are required, so if you know or if you have an idea, the sodium potassium pump, it's an absolutely important concept in coordination, in bringing about coordination. So it really maintains, or it really balances the amount of certain sorts of ions which are required at a particular time, and that's really important for a cell. So really these are the basic functions that are carried on by a cell membrane, and we'll see that on the slide. So cell membrane is a biological membrane that separates the interior of the cell from the outside space and protects the cell from its environment. So guys, it's important to use these sorts of words, and you must be really careful about using them and have a sound understanding. Protects its environment, protects it in its environment from other protein molecules or other ions, because because you must be able to understand that not every sort of ion is required at all times. As I told you, in the concept of coordination, you will also see that the sodium potassium pump is a really famous example of that. And a cell only requires certain sorts of ions or molecules at a particular time, and that needs to be controlled, and therefore a cell needs to maintain equilibrium, and cell membrane is one of the structures that allows it to do so. Then it has two layers of lipid films, oil molecules, phospholipid oil molecules, and with many kinds of membrane proteins that we saw. It controls the movement of molecules. So it's really important point. It's such as water, nutrients, oxygen, really oxygen, carbon dioxide. So gases diffuse outside from outside into inside a cell, or from inside outside of a cell. It's carried on all by the virtue of the presence of a cell membrane. And then proteins on the cell membrane also involved in cell movement and the communication between cells. So really it's amazing to know that how the various carbohydrate chains or protein molecules act as an antenna on a cell membrane. Other protein molecules which are swimming around a cell can then, if required, can get fit into the protein molecules, into the pockets of the protein, and allow really a cascade of reaction to continue. So it really happens by the fact that proteins have certain sort of shapes. So for instance, a protein might have a shape like that, and a molecule which is required to be transported inside a cell would have to fit inside this pocket for it to be transported, or for it to allow the transport channels to open, and then only the protein would be able to move in or transported inside the cell. It's really important because you will also see this concept or idea of lock and key hypothesis, which we would take a look at in the topic where we would be studying enzymes. So enzymes are inherently protein in nature. But really the points that I have mentioned in the green, you are really required to understand and learn of these. Really you guys are not responsible for all the details that I mentioned really, but it was for the sake of your learning and making or enhancing or reinforcing the concepts in a really better fashion, because I really believe that it helps for the students to grasp ideas in that manner really conveniently. In the next slide we see the cytoplasm. So I want you guys to think over this picture, and so rather I would like to tell you, because I assume that you do not have learned really about cytoplasm, but you have seen cytoplasm in the previous lecture. Anyways, so I want you to picture this large aquarium, and inside the aquarium it's obviously completely filled with water, and there are various fish that are floating. So various sorts of fish that are floating, you can think of them as various subcellular structures or organelles that are swimming or are fixed in a particular places inside a cell. This aquarium is like a cell. So and the water that's completely filling this cell, or the aquarium, is similar to or analogous to cytoplasm. So really inside the cell it's not really dry. and the organelles are often seen swimming rather inside a cell, and this is done by the virtue of the presence of cytoplasm, which is really like fluid like substance or a jelly like matrix that allows various organelles and various cellular processes to take place inside it. So really a water inside aquarium can be thought of for example as a cytoplasm, and the various sorts of fish that are swimming can be thought of for the moment as various subcellular structures that are swimming inside cytoplasm. So I hope that would make really clear what cytoplasm is. It's really all material within a cell, and it's enclosed by the cell membrane except for the cell nucleus. Cell nucleus has its own fluid like substance or structure which is referred to as a nucleoplasm. It's really a thick solution that fills each cell and is enclosed by cell membrane. That's the repetition of the first point. All of the organelles in eukaryotic cells such as nucleus, endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria are located in the cytoplasm. So all these fish, in our case these fish and other fish such as ribosome, Golgi apparatus, chloroplast are swimming inside or located inside the water, which is the cytoplasm. Now we see one of the most important, in fact the most important organelle or subcellular structure of a cell, that's a nucleus. Why do I call it the most important or the central structure of a cell? Is for two reasons, I believe. One of the reasons is that it controls all the instructions for a cell to survive, for a living organism to be, so to say. And another point is that it's absolutely important because this is the organelle that differentiates a eukaryotic cell from a prokaryotic cell. So really a eukaryotic cell is a one that has a well defined nucleus. So we say a eukaryotic cell has a really well organized nucleus, rather a prokaryotic but on the other hand a prokaryotic cell has no well defined nucleus, and therefore this is a really important organelle for us to be able to understand and to distinguish between a prokaryotic cell from a eukaryotic cell. And it has its own job. It really comprises of a complete genome. So genome is what is the blueprint or the instructions that are required for our life, so to say, that are required for the cell to divide, that are required for the cell to behave. Remember, our teachers used to say behave, and this is the organelle that says the cells to behave. Really, these are the instructions that are required to be performed by a cell. A cell otherwise would go blind, really. And this little organelle contains millions of tiny structures, chromatin, and this is the organelle that contains our DNA. Really, the instructions that we inherit from our parents or from our forefathers. The key feature that separates that already told you the difference between a eukaryotic and a prokaryotic cell. So really it has a membrane that is surrounding it, and that's called a nuclear envelope, and nuclear pores are available to control transportation. So really if you see a nucleus, if I draw a really simple diagram, it looks like this, and these are small pores to allow the transport of various ions or proteins that are required for by a cell. And then this also contains a nucleolus in the center, and it's really stained dense because of the presence of various chromatin thread like structures and the DNA that's also present within this organelle or subcellular structure of a cell. Then we come on to the another important organelle, which is the powerhouse of a cell, as I told. So as I have mentioned and highlighted in green, power generators of a cell. This is really a sausage like a call or rod like structure, particularly oval sort of structure, and it has various foldings, and it is double, it has double membranes for that must be noted, and it has intermembrane space, and it has its own DNA. So this is the only organelle that we came across by far which has its own DNA. That's really interesting. Then it has an ATP synthase, which is really an enzyme that you really do not need to bother at this point of time. It has ribosomes that we are just going to take look at. This is a matrix, and then there are various granules, inner membrane, outer membrane. So really two membranes are present, and the cristae junction, these are cristae, and this is our junction. Cristae are these sorts of structure. These sorts of structure are called cristae, and they also serve a purpose. The various foldings that are found on the mitochondria are really the place of electron transport chain, and that allows the generation of energy in a cell. Mitochondrion performs cellular respiration, which converts glucose and oxygen to adenosine triphosphate. So ATP is really the energy currency within the cell. So ATP is the form of energy that is required by every living organism to survive, and it's the currency really in which the cellular functions proceed. Mitochondrion has double layers of membrane. This is really important to note. Outer membrane and an inner membrane. Between the OMM and IMM is the intermembranous space. Inside the membrane is, so matrix is the really the space that's covered between, so the really vacuum or the really empty space that's between an inner membrane and the outer membrane of the mitochondria. It generates ATP like a hydraulic dam. It happens via the electron transport chain across IMM. So really guys, we do not need to discuss the detail about this, but you really need to understand that ATP is generated by the virtue of the presence of the electron transport chain. So electrons move along this cristae or this infoldings of the mitochondrion, and as they move through and outside of the outside and inside of the mitochondria, the ATP synthase is also involved in the generation of this energy. The energy is generated in the form of ATP, and there is a whole lot of biochemistry going on inside this mitochondria that we really do not need to take up at this point of time, but you really need to understand that it generates ATP. That's enough. A mitochondria in plant cell and chloroplasts too. So really this part exposed my surprise really, because guys, I did not want to tell you that in fact chloroplasts too are the only organelles that have their own DNA. So now you know that there are two organelles that have their own DNA, and that was my surprise, but sadly that's been exposed in this point. If you notice that it mentions chloroplast also do have their own DNA other than nucleus. So nucleus has DNA, but the other two organelles that we have learnt now are chloroplasts as well as a mitochondrion that has its own DNA. It's circular and it's only encoded by 13 genes. Again, that's not the part of your syllabus. So endoplasmic reticulum, really it's like stack like structure. So if you see these sorts of structures which are some sorts of invaginated or have infoldings within them, then you must immediately be able to understand that these are endoplasmic reticulum. Now endoplasmic reticulum are of two types. One is a rough endoplasmic reticulum and another is smooth endoplasmic reticulum. A smooth one is called so because it's not really studded with ribosomes. A rough endoplasmic reticulum on the other hand has various ribosomes that are present around its structure. So these stack like structures, had there been no ribosomes, would be a smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and in case of ribosomes, in the case of these globular small circular structures which are present around the endoplasmic reticulum, then we call it a rough endoplasmic reticulum, and that's a differentiation that you really need to understand. other than that, these are vesicle and Golgi apparatus that are really formed or yielded in close vicinity to and closely linked to smooth and rough endoplasmic reticulum structure, but these are really not a part of CIE O levels biology syllabus, and thankfully you would not need to learn of them, but you would see them and revisit them in A levels. A smooth endoplasmic reticulum lacks ribosomes. So the function is the specialization in lipid synthesis, steroid hormone production, and detoxification. So I'll tell you that detoxification is really the functioning of liver. That's the organ that's responsible for carrying this detoxification, but at this point of time I really do not expect you to understand that liver is responsible for carrying detoxification, but really when the questions come out or come on exam paper, I tell you, they try to test your understanding as a whole. And so for instance, they would ask you a question that there is a sort of cell they would give you, and it's really rich in smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and in the options you would be asked to predict or choose from 4 options the organs that would be likely to have smooth endoplasmic reticulum in really multiple numbers or in really sufficient amount. So in that case, your knowledge of that detoxification that's being carried in a liver or in a liver cell or in the liver would be tested as well, but that's really I think you would really understand after you go through the past papers and once you understand and thoroughly go through the syllabus. But as I take you through the syllabus, I feel that it's like my responsibility to tell you and to really warn you, so to say, or make you really a proactive student in keeping notes of such sorts of little points or ideas, and to relate them in your as you further in your knowledge. The outer side facing the cytosol of the rough endoplasmic reticulum is studded with ribosomes. So guys, have you noticed that these red dots like structures are basically ribosomes, and these are found in the vicinity of a rough endoplasmic reticulum. Then it mentions that it stays closer to the nucleus and coordinates protein synthesis. So really proteins are synthesized on ribosomes, and we are going to take a look at the structure of ribosomes just now. So really this is a slide which was really you must have been looking forward to, really, because ribosomes I have mentioned now time and again about ribosomes. So really what ribosomes are, these are the places where the proteins are synthesized in our cells. So it acts like machinery. So it's really like a machinery in a factory where the end products, the products being the protein in case of a cell, are synthesized or produced in an organism. And ribosomes consist of 2 major components. There is a small subunit. So there are 2 subunits, guys, a small subunit and then there is a ribosomal large subunit, and they are assembled by proteins and ribosomal rRNA. So there is a different form of RNA that's called ribosomal rRNA, which is abbreviated as rRNA. So really these 2 structures are composed of proteins and the ribosomal RNA. These are really the organelles or the subcellular structures which are required or which are involved in the production of end products, which are the polypeptide chains, which are in fact made up of joining of amino acids. Amino acids are really the building blocks of proteins, and various chains form of polypeptide. Poly means many, peptide is the peptide bond that links the 2 amino acids together. So that's the extra bit of information that I'm really talking about right now. So peptide bonds are the bonds that link two amino acids together, and many chains form, and these chains take or assume various sorts of structure or shapes to form an end product, which is known as a protein in the case of a cell, and it's so really these are folding and assembling into proteins. Ribosomes can be found on the rough endoplasmic reticulum or free floating. So we saw that rough endoplasmic reticulum is studied thoroughly with these ribosomes, and ribosomes can also be found freely floating inside a cytosol. So really protein synthesis can be taking place at various many sites, but there are certain sites. Now studies are showing that there are certain sites which are really common, or which are really commonly associated with the production or synthesis of protein. So this diagram is what shows the structure of ribosome, and it shows that it's composed of a large subunit that you see in the pink, a small subunit that's really sky blue or green color, I guess, and then there's a green colored tRNA, which is a transfer RNA molecule. Ribosomal large subunit. Amino acid, as I told you, these are blue beads that you see are amino acids that are linked together with polypeptide bond, and this is a growing peptide chain, and it would separate off itself as an ending signal is sent to this chain, and that's really the molecular biology that's going on, and that's really not the topic at this point of time. And this is mRNA synthesis. This is the mRNA. Messenger RNA is what carries the instructions from DNA. I'll tell you what, DNA is what carries the blueprint or the basic instructions. From DNA, mRNA is made, if I am able to write it, and from mRNA tRNA takes its instructions to eventually give rise to polypeptide chain, and that forms a protein. So really this is really, guys, what I told you is the central dogma of molecular biology. This is really and an absolutely important concept in molecular biology, and I cannot really stress enough upon the importance of this idea. DNA to mRNA to protein is the central dogma of molecular biology, that you can definitely look up in detail on Google as well, but that's not a part of this course. And we see that this is how a ribosome looks like, and it plays a really crucial role in the synthesis of protein, in fact. So really, guys, we have come to an end to this part of the lecture. I had really no idea, and I had really not anticipated that it would take me that long to record and to cover in detail the functions of the subcellular structures which are commonly found in an animal as well as a plant cell. But it really took me quite some time, and I discussed the topic to my best, really. Anyways, I hope that the examples or the illustrations that I make or that I try to make, so to say, really help you in reinforcing your ideas, or motivates you to think beyond the box, out of the box, and guys, you can tell me anytime about if you think that I could improve in any ways. I would be more than happy to receive positive or constructive criticism, because I believe that there is always a need to improve. And that's the end of today's lecture. It got quite long, unfortunately, because I really wanted to keep it small and to the point, but these functions and the structures are really what form the foundation of your cell biology and molecular biology, the ideas, because this is the foundational course. So I really thought to take some time and discuss what I know to this time, to up till now. So I really wanted to communicate and share my knowledge with you. And in the next lecture, what we are going to see is the structures which are unique to a plant cell, and we would also see the much hyped out, or in fact the most commonly known microbe or microbial cell, a bacterial cell. So we would really see what a bacterial cell looks like, and I'll also talk about are they really dangerous to us or not. So really guys, these are really two important topics and absolutely interesting ones to follow. And with this I would like to end today's lecture. Take care, and really guys, communicate with me the ideas or any comments that you would want to tell me. You are more than welcome, and take care. Till next time, happy learning and goodbye from my side.